Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our July 14th, 2025 show, we are going to be reviewing the new Superman movie in depth. We're going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to be giving our opinions and letting you all know what we thought about it, going through some of the controversies, some of the revelations, some of the story plots and sequences. And we want to hear from you. To let you know how all that works and how we can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my two co-hosts, my good friends, Michael Bailey. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Doing well, and yourself?
Got my bearings all screwed up tonight.
And Mark Lax. Hello, Mark.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well tonight. All right, some housekeeping. First and foremost, I want to thank our sponsors and patrons, our Superman champions. Thank you so much to Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, Tina Murray, Rick Schutzau, and Jamie Klingensmith for their financial support. Really appreciate them keeping this show free for everyone. And if you'd like to join those fine folks and be a supporter of the show, then you simply have to go to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where there are different levels of membership with different levels of perks. One of them being you get your name read out at the beginning and end of each of our live shows. Also, if you want to get involved in tonight's show, we're not going to be taking live calls. We're just not going to have time, but we will be listening to and reading out or looking at your comments, both on Facebook and on YouTube tonight. Still can't get the Instagram thing going. I'm not sure why. But if you're on either Facebook or YouTube tonight, we can see your comments, react to them as the show goes on, answer any questions you might have. So feel free to participate there. We can already see JP, John, Kara, Rick, Jamie, Diabetic Superman, Justin, Wonder, and so many others who are joining us live tonight. We really appreciate you being with us for this next hour as we delve into the new Superman movie. Mark and I have just been speaking off camera. He's seen it twice. I've seen it twice. Michael, how many times are you up to now?
Oh, only twice. We're going to go back a third time. Well, only twice for now. We are going to go back and see it again because Rachel caught a cold and couldn't go the second time. So I went by myself early Monday morning. It was like 8:30. Early Friday morning, excuse me, the day it came out. And but yeah, no, I'm definitely going back.
Cool, very cool. And Mark, you saw it the second time in 3D. How was that?
Yes, it was good. 3D is not all it's cracked up to be. At least for me. I mean, there were certain scenes I would say worked a lot better with 3D, but in general, it was not as big a deal. Nothing so much better. It's still as great a movie as it was, and it didn't change much.
Fair enough. So, and Michael, I see you got some of the merchandise. You got a cup there.
I got the. Now I would do the light up feature on this thing. The problem is that when it has a dark liquid in it, it doesn't really do well.
Okay.
The light is all on the bottom at that point. You need like water or like when I got it, the woman behind the counter is like, "Do you want to try this Sprite frozen drink?" And it's got fruit punch in it. I'm like, yeah, and it was the best thing I've ever had. And that same thing we got.
Very nice.
The crypto popcorn thing. We did not put popcorn in it because they gave you a large popcorn, and that would have been insane. We didn't eat all of the large popcorn either because we're both, in our 40s. But those were the two things that I got from the theater. So
Very
it
nice.
was we saved up. This is like the only Superman merch I have from this movie outside of a couple T-shirts too.
Yeah, I haven't. I was at the shops on the weekend and saw plenty of merchandise out there at different stores and what have you here in Australia. But the Australian premiere, which I went to, we were all given a copy of the All-Star Superman comic book that was on the seat there, and also got like the lanyard and thing that we had. But look, we're here tonight to talk about the movie and go through it in depth, and we've got our little schedule of how we're going to break it down. So we've kind of just first and foremost overall impression and a rating out of five stars. Michael, I'll let you go first.
I was shocked how much I loved this movie.
Okay.
Maybe it's because I was keeping that kind of like control of myself of not getting too excited. But outside of like 2 or 3 things, I was completely blown away by it, and I will give it a 5 out of 5. Definitely, just surpassed every expectation I had, and the second time I saw it, I was just as emotional as the first time.
Very nice, Mark.
You know what, I'm going to give it a 4.5. For a couple of things we'll discuss. I really want to give it 5, but there's a few things I want to talk about. But I'll say solid 4.5.
Okay, yeah, well, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm a pretty harsh critic. I never give much a 5 out of 5. So, but
Yeah.
definitely up there.
You're a
as,
stern taskmaster, Steve.
Definitely up there as one of the better Superman films that I have seen. My one-liner for this was, and I put this out on like my social media posts, this was the Saturday morning cartoons of my childhood brought to the big screen in live action. It felt like an episode of Superman the Animated Series, or even the Ruby Spears Superman cartoons, or a comic book issue brought to life. It was that good. I really did enjoy it, but I'm never giving anything a 5 out of 5 just because I don't think anything is ever perfect. And we will go through some of the details. I should mention off the top, it is now the number one the number one movie in the world at the moment. That obviously is very tentative because new films come out and things change all the time. But it, did get a really solid score on Rotten Tomatoes and on by both critics and fans alike. It is doing better at the box office than many people predicted it would. The numbers that were projected, it's actually slightly better than the projections. So it's doing really well, and it is setting up the DCU moving forward. And I think we're all pretty happy with where it's ranking and rating as far as financially as well as scores from ratings.
Yeah, an 85% reviewers, 93% viewer rating is fantastic. Like, none of the other Superman films have gotten that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tracking around about the same kind of where other Superman films did, doing a little bit better than some and not as well as others. But it has quite a bit of competition out there at the moment with the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World film. And then there's obviously the Fantastic Four coming out next week, I think it is. So in its second weekend, this coming weekend, it might do around about 50% of what it did in its first weekend, which is usually around pretty good. And word of mouth, I think, with this film will probably help a lot because I think there are a lot of people who are surprised at how good some of the reviews have been. And so therefore will be either going and seeing it again or taking people with them to go see it again or telling people to go see it for the first time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have rarely seen. I'm just going to actually disqualify that. I have never seen a Superman film get this much positive praise by such a wide variety of audience members.
Not in the internet era, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine last night messaged me and said, "What's it like to have everyone like Superman?" And I said, "Weird. I'm not used to this. None of us are."
No. Now, should we be comparing it to previous Superman films? Like people say, well, how does it compare to Superman the movie? Or how does it compare to Man of Steel? And I'm not one to do that. I don't like doing that because every Superman film has a right to stand on its own and be judged on its own merits. And each one is valid as a take on the character. Now, my wife came out disappointed a little bit that it didn't give enough of a Superman the movie vibe, that she wanted to see some things like, even if he flew past the end and smiled at the camera, she would have been happy. And I was like, yeah, but that would have been too easy. Like there would have been, things that I think if they tried to make it like something else, everyone would have gone, no, they're just trying to copy. So I'm happy for it to not to be compared.
So
we tend.
You go first. You go first.
Well, let me just say, we tend to compare. We tend to compare things. I mean, obviously, we've compared. I mean, we've compared Henry Cavill to Christopher Reeve, to Brandon Routh, to Tyler Hoechlin, and all of that, and it doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
It doesn't get you any to compare. I mean, just because you could say, look, David Cornsweet is one of the best Supermans you've ever seen on screen. Doesn't mean Henry Cavill wasn't, and doesn't mean Tyler wasn't. It's not worth it. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not worth comparing. It just doesn't. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So it's just you rate this as did you think David Cornsweet was great? Did you think Rachel Brosnahan was great? You just rate it as it is, the movie as it is, and don't worry about comparing everything else.
So I'm going to worry and compare it, but more in an academic sense.
Yeah.
But more in an academic sense, not in a this is better than that. When I came out of this theater, or the theater both times, my first thought was, this is the Superman film that the world has been waiting for. And what I mean by that is, this is the Superman film that makes a Superman for everybody. Superman Returns and Man of Steel do very much stand on their own. And there are good things about both of them, despite the fact that they're not my favorites. But the one thing I will say about both of them is that they were targeting a very specific audience with what they were trying to do. Superman Returns was all about, hey, you remember those Christopher Reeve films? Man, those were great, weren't they? And they tried to kind of coast on that. And then Man of Steel was just like, well, we're going to create a new Superman for a new age that is completely rooted in reality. And if Superman the movie taught us anything, it's that people want a sense of reality, but they also want the fantastic. But now I think the world just wants something that's fantastic, that's fantastical, that is not our world. It's recognizable, but it's not our world. So I think the comparison is that this is the Superman the movie for the 21st century. So it's not better than Superman the movie. It's not worse than Superman the movie. It's just the introduction and version of the character that the world can accept in mass instead of just a specific audience.
Yeah, well said. All right, well, let's go through and analyze some of the characters and their arcs in this film. Firstly, your thoughts on David Cornsweet and his Superman characterization. For me, he's Superman. I love this version of Superman because he's a gosh darn it kind of Superman who, I mean, someone was complained that there was too much swearing or cursing in this movie as a Superman movie. And I was like, yeah, there is, but everybody else except Superman. Superman doesn't even say, what the hell? He says, what the hey, dude? Like, this is the Superman that is so wholesome. It's beautiful.
So the thing I like about this Superman is that he is very much in the same vein as like first season George Reeves on Adventures of Superman. He's very casual. And I kind of like that. The fact that he does say things like, what the hey do. Now, he did say a word that also stands for excrement, but he was quoting what someone else was saying. So it's not like he was saying it. Hashtag. And it was weird to hear Superman say that. I'm going to say that right now. It was weird for me as a 49-year-old guy that's watched so much Superman in my life to have him actually say that. But the thing that I loved about his Superman is that one of the things that everyone says is that he's too powerful and you can't relate to him. But that speech at the end, where he's just like, I get scared, I don't know what I'm doing, but I get up every morning and I just put one foot in front of the other and I do my best. And I think that's something that, like, I watched a clip of it earlier tonight because it's on TikTok, of course, and I was actually getting teary-eyed because it resonates so much. But it is that kind of swagger, but not arrogant.
Yes.
Like he's got a swagger, but it's a charming, like, everyone likes him and he likes doing what he's doing, even though he's not quite certain of it. And when he gets uncertain, it's actually kind of heartbreaking and you're feeling for him. So I thought as Superman, he was great. We didn't get enough Clark Kent. That is one of my few quibbles with the film, that we only got like one scene with Kent at the Daily Planet. but the story didn't call for it. Blah blah blah. No, I just I think he is a Superman for the ages. I think he stands up there with the best of them.
Yeah, Mark.
He was just he was phenomenal. I mean, just from the beginning. I mean, you can't. I mean, we all saw that early on. We all saw the very first scene.
Yeah,
That we saw that a couple months back, couple weeks, whatever it was. But even so, just watching that again, and then watching him, once he gets the sun back, and then he rolls off, and he's like, "Okay, got to go back," and the robots are like, "Whoa, wait a minute, you haven't got your power yet," and he's like, "I gotta go," and it's like this is just the guy. I mean, I'm again, I don't want to compare Supermans or any of that, but the different Supermen, excuse me. Um, but if you wanted Superman in your world, if you wanted someone who's going to save the day, this is the guy that you want.
hmm.
You want this guy, okay? I mean, he just he just comes off the comic book page. I
Yeah,
mean, you say it's like Saturday morning. It is. I mean, he's doing, when he first, like when the monster comes in, and he's holding up, he's trying to hold up the monster, and then it's I just couldn't believe how I'm like, oh my god, that is Superman.
yeah.
That is
No,
Superman. But
he was
it's
really
just,
good in the role. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I just you go no, go ahead.
I was going to say you mentioned the Clark Kent is
Gosh.
doesn't get much,
Yeah.
time in this film, Michael. And yeah, I mean, we only get Clark in the Daily Planet when he's apologising to Perry being late, and the whole interaction with some of the other Daily Planet members, and then we see him in his really relaxed role as Clark in Lois's apartment when she's doing the interview and that. But you're right. Other than that, we really don't get Clark Kent. The story doesn't really call for it, which is a shame because I like a lot of Clark Kent, a lot of good balance between Clark and Superman in my Superman stories, and maybe we'll get that down the track at some point in any subsequent films. But yeah, the dual identity thing. Do we? The whole chat between Lois and Green Lantern about does she know who he is and all that, and he's just such a idiot about trying to keep the secret identity. And she talks about the glasses, and he's like, the hypno glasses. Is it factually, are they actually using hypno glasses, or is it just nobody thinks that Superman is Clark Kent or that Superman has a secret identity? Because even Lex, who's as smart as he thinks he is, still thinks that Clark and Superman are separate people. So are we going with because I think James Gunn has said something about this, that it is actually they're using the hypno glasses, that when he puts on the glasses, it changes the way Superman or Clark Kent is perceived by people, so they don't see the similarities between him and Clark. But for me, I've always liked the thing where people don't even think that there is a connection.
Yeah.
That there is.
Can I answer
Yeah,
this?
go, Mark.
I had the actual issue that I read the actual issue where they, revealed that he has, hypno glasses, and they even showed a picture. It was Kurt Swan drew it. It showed a picture of Superman, and then it showed a picture of Clark looking a little older or something. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was a fan suggestion. A fan suggested that, and they did it, and everyone was like, "Oh no, 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 no!" And it was just forgotten.
Hmm.
I don't really remember it coming up any time. I mean, I read that in the 80s, it was from the 70s, but I don't really remember that being brought up. And in my heart of hearts, I said to myself, no, that's just that story, and that's the end of it. But then James Gunn brings it up, and now it's in the movie, and I'm kind of like, they don't need that. I will say they do not need that. Clark has worn the glasses since 1938, and that's a disguise. And if it just people just can't tell because he just looks different with the glasses without, fine. That's how it is, and that's the way it is. You don't need the hypno glasses.
Michael, what do you think?
So, in the past, when we've heard Superman directors, talk about things they didn't like about Superman, and how they just wouldn't put it in the movie, or if they did put it in the movie, like Zack Snyder obviously didn't think much of Jimmy Olsen because he shot him in the face. So there were two things that Gunn just couldn't wrap his head around: the trunks and the glasses. He's just one of those people that just is kind of like my wife, just can't accept the glasses. And it was Tom King, of all people, that told him about that issue of Superman. And I think if this is going to be our compromise of James Gunn getting so much else right, and this is how he has to explain the glasses to himself, it is a throwaway line, and it has no bearing on the movie. And I just love that Guy Gardner can't even wrap his head around. He's just like, it's like, explain it to me. And he's looking off to Mr. Terrific. And it was more of I think what it was more of Guy Gardner trying to suss out what Lois knows.
Yeah.
So he mentions the hypno glasses and all that. And it's just,
it's a bit of guff.
It's one of those, it's one of those things that annoyed me that it was ruined before the film. It's also annoying that people just immediately started writing articles about it in that, can you believe this was in a Superman comic? Yeah, it was a Bronze Age. Of course it was in a Superman comic.
If you can believe that there are monkeys with typing on computers to put hashtags and memes, then the glasses are not that far-fetched.
It's like, I'm like you, Steve. I prefer kind of the post-crisis idea that no one thinks he has a secret identity.
Yeah.
That they just assume when he's not here being Superman, he's somewhere else being Superman. Or he's got a palatial pad that he hangs out with all the other heroes.
All right, we need to.
That's actually in an issue, but still.
Yeah, we need to move on because obviously we've got only limited time to go through different things. I think Lois was right on point. I loved Rachel's version of Lois. I loved Lex's version. This version of Lex. He's a little bit unhinged, but he is super genius. He has studied Superman. He hates the fact that Superman exists because he thinks it diminishes human beings, and that's his real motivation in this. I like that they kind of put the skew on. You kind of think he wants land again because he wants half of that Johan Per, but it's actually that's just a ploy. It's actually he wants to eliminate Superman, and this is his way of doing it.
Yeah, he just hates Superman.
Yeah,
like that's his motivation. And when you scratch the surface a little more, you get into the idea that he hates what Superman represents. Yeah. It's a very modern idea of Lex Luthor. Jeff Johns played with that a lot, but it was just the fact that this alien exists and is making him feel less than.
Yeah.
And it's why I will say this though, on the big screen, this might be controversial, best Superman Lex Luthor dynamic ever. Like of all of the different ones, and I'm the guy that loves Lex and Superman 4, but I just love that these two hate each other, but at the end Superman's like, I just wish you could see the world like I do.
Yeah.
It didn't stop him from shoulder checking him when he came into that flying fortress, which I loved. And then there's what Crypto did, which was hilarious. But I just love that he was just so intense and angry all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Crypto nearly steals the show here. And I love the way they use Crypto in this movie. I think he's adorable and he's just fantastic. And I love the characterization. I'm not sure about Jimmy. Why has Jimmy got so much Riz? Like, why is Jimmy such a ladies' man, yet I don't get it. Like, what are they seeing him? Yet he's fending off women left, right, and center. I mean,
he doesn't seem to get it either.
No, he can be so picky that he won't even look at Eve because of her feet.
Mutant toes.
Mutant toes. Oh my god.
I actually liked that they went in this direction with Jimmy.
I like it, but it's mind-boggling.
It's one of those things where Jimmy, traditionally outside of the Christopher Reeve films, doesn't get a whole lot to do.
No, that's true.
And really, he only gets something to do in 2 of those films. In 1 and 3. Those are the big, Jimmy moments. But I like the idea that because, Skylar's a good-looking guy, so why would, and he's got a confidence of himself, and he's a photographer, and chicks dig that, so I don't know. It's just, I like that he has Riz. We're a bunch of like 50 and 40-year-old men saying the word Riz. I don't know if we're allowed to. I think we're going to get arrested.
No, you didn't say it, Mark. But well, actually, Skylar actually thought he was auditioning for the role of Superman when he first got called up, which is kind of funny. So he does have tickets on himself. My biggest portrayal issue with this film was Ma and Pa Kent. Now, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. To me, they came across as being overly simplistic. They didn't come across as being the smart, moral compasses that would be the, inspiration for who Superman became. They just seemed too country bumpkin for me.
As somebody that lives in a very rural area in places, even though I live just outside of Atlanta, I am just also outside of the middle of nowhere. And when I saw Ma Kent talking on the phone with Clark at the beginning of the film like she was, I'm like, oh my God, he knows what old people are like. And that's what I kind of liked about them. The first thing I liked about them, as I've said before, is that they're normal looking. We talked about last week and the week before models. About how the past ones are just really good looking people. But I kind of disagree with you, which may get me fired. This may be my last episode of Superman Homepage for Live. Pa was full of wisdom.
Yeah,
he said,
not so much Pa, but Ma just to me came across as being overly simplistic.
Actually, the fact that she was constantly calling out her husband for being a mush, I loved. And I loved that she cleaned her boots. What I get from them is that they're normal, so they gave him a normal upbringing and showed him what normal people are like. He wasn't raised by, people that were the smartest in the world. But Pa Kent, saying, parents shouldn't tell children what they need to do. They should give them the tools to go screw up on their own. And just say, I'm proud of you. It was literally out of For All Seasons, the Jonathan Kent from For All Seasons personified. I just absolutely loved them. It is one of my favorite portrayals of these characters, mainly because I feel like I know these. I feel like I've sold these people printers. Let me put it to you that way.
Fair enough.
I'm going to kind of disagree with Steve too, because I like them as well. I mean, I see the country bumpkin type of. I know what you're saying. I wish we saw more of them.
Well, at least they're both alive.
Yes.
Yes. But no, I mean, when you first see him yelling into the phone and he's sitting there like, tell him not to be a stranger, But like Mike said, they're just regular people. They are simple country folk. That's who they are. But they're good people.
Enough. Yeah.
They're good people. And I like Ma. I did like these people. I like them very much. I don't know if I'll say they were my favorite portrayal, but I really liked them.
Maybe it's just me.
It feels like we're ganging up on Steve. No. I don't think that's, what we want.
Maybe it's just me. I mean, like I said, I don't think everything's perfect, so that's all good. All right, let's get to some of the major plot points, because we're in this. We've just had a half hour of talking about some of the characterizations. Let's get into the story nitty gritty. So, the Hammer of Baravia. I guess the first revelation was those text parts in the beginning where they talked about the timeline of where things are at, and that Superman has been around for 3 years, and yet he's just lost his first fight. I thought that was a very interesting way of starting the film in the middle of a fight, where he's just lost his first fight. And the first revelation, going in to things that we'd already seen, obviously, from trailers and what have you, was that Jor-El and Lara are played by Bradley Cooper, and I'm forgetting what her name is. I've got it here somewhere in my notes. But Bradley Cooper, I guess, was for most people the familiar face.
Yeah,
everyone was like,
she was.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen her in what's that TV? Westworld, the TV series.
Okay.
So she was in that. But obviously, Bradley Cooper was the face that everyone was like, oh wow. And obviously, because he's the voice of Rocket Raccoon in James Gunn's previous films, brings that kind of full circle. But yeah, that was an interesting revelation.
The thing I liked about Jor-El and Lara in this film is the thing a lot of people hate about it. I will fight on the hill that this movie doesn't work if that message isn't real.
Oh,
If what
exactly.
if what Lex Luthor and the engineer discovered isn't true, the film doesn't work, because it's the whole arc of the film is that he finds out that his parents were kind of jerks and that it wasn't the message he thought, but then he leans into the parents that did love him and did teach him to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I mean, I like Bradley Cooper just as an actor. He's affable.
Yeah,
He's
he
very
is.
charming. Looks great in a beard. And I, it's just funny to me that the second part of the message was basically like, do good, but if that doesn't work out, take over and get as many girls as you possibly can. I mean, I'm sure it was a little more nuanced than that, but that was my
Just
takeaway. No, I,
Well,
I
let's talk about the message, because that was the big turning point of the film. That was the big twist, in that he'd only heard the first half of the message because the second half had been destroyed or corrupted in the trip to Earth. Now, the first half of the message is, oh, we love you, we think you're fantastic, we miss you, we want you to do well, and what have you. And that's his whole world. That message, it soothes him. They play it over and over whenever he needs it in the fortress. And that's the whole reason he does. Well, that's what he thinks is the whole reason he does what he does, because he believes that he was sent there by his parents to protect people and be the best man he could be and do right. But then when that message is decrypted and the rest of it is revealed, and they go to great pains to say that it is authentic, and Mr. Terrific says, yeah, look, I know these guys, it's real. Lex Luthor hasn't made it up. It actually is real. The rest of it has been decrypted. And Jor-El and Lara are sending him into Earth to continue the Kryptonian heritage, to repopulate the Earth, for him to take on a harem and rule over the Earth. This was shocking to a lot of people because it's not the Jor-El and Lara we've seen in many versions of the story. But it's not the first time that we've had Jor-El be either a jerk in Smallville. He was a bit of a, not a very nice guy. And in My Adventures with Superman, the recent animated series, it's very similar in this regard, that he's sent here for a different reason. And the AI of Jor-El only kind of comes around because of the things that happened during the telling of that story. But initially, he's sent here for different reasons. And that's one of the things that Clark struggles with in My Adventures with Superman. And it's something that this Clark has to struggle with once it's revealed, because his whole the rug is pulled out from underneath him. The whole reason he thinks he is who he is because he truly believes that he was sent here to do something different to what he was actually sent here to do, and that kind of shatters his whole self-image.
But
may I add?
Go ahead, Mark. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I'm sorry. May I add also that there was Mr. Oz. Now, Mr. Oz obviously didn't send him to rule. Jor-El did not
books,
send
yeah.
him to rule the earth, but he turned out to be kind of a rotten guy.
Yeah.
And that also started a whole other dynamic. And we haven't seen him in a while, but that started a whole other dynamic, and so there was that too. But I it doesn't surprise me. Would I have preferred that they were like every other Jor-El and Lara? Well, maybe, but now I've seen the movie twice. I'm kind of like, you know what? It works for the movie because of course he believes, at first they sent him there to get a good life and blah, blah, blah. And then when he learns the truth of their message, what they really wanted him to do, it doesn't change him. He actually goes more into it because he leans more into it because he's kind of like, no, this is not who I am. I am not this person who's going to rule the earth. I'm here to save people, to help people. And that just makes the message for him more clear of who he is because of that message.
Michael.
Yeah, it just, I think we don't need the same thing over and over and over again.
Sure.
Marlon Brando was God. I mean, they make no bones about that. He is God sending his son, his only begotten son, to the earth to be the savior of mankind. And we didn't see much of it in Lois and Clark because it was David Warner, so proper actor, but they didn't do a whole lot with him. And like you said, Steve, whether it was the voice of Terrence Stamp or the late Julian Sands, Jor-El, that was the dynamic of it of nature versus nurture, and what I think works about this so well is that one of the things that Gunn plays with in this film is that the world around Superman is dark and cynical and mean and nasty, and he is the light. He is the one that is showing that you can just do the right thing, even if you're all powerful. And having jerk parents, I think, just reinforces that idea. Mm-hmm. That he is, and it also means he is the one making the decision. Like at the beginning of the film, he's like, my parents sent me here for a reason. And then that reason is just, that rug is just pulled out from under him. But he decides, no, I still need to do this. I'm doing this for my reasons now and to make my parents proud. And it's easier to ditch the parents that you didn't know, to be fair.
It is.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, the other revelation is that obviously first off, the Hammer of Baravia is a mask for Ultraman. Ultraman is inside the Hammer of Baravia and is being controlled by Lex Luthor. Then the big reveal, and again, spoilers, people. I mean, this is our review of the film. You're not gonna, if you're here watching, then you've seen the film, hopefully. That Ultraman is Lex Luthor's clone of Superman, not Bizarro, so to speak, but he's kind of Bizarro because he's a little bit dumber and stupider and doesn't speak at all in this film, but is Lex Luthor's clone of Superman and not a perfect. He does say that, like all clones, it's not a perfect replica or what have you, but that's the big revelation. And for a minute there, with the long hair, he almost looked like Henry Cavill. I think a lot of people were.
He kind of did.
Yeah, it was
a little bit, yeah.
Is that Henry? Like, I think there'd been some kind
of wouldn't that been
thought.
Something?
Yeah, that would have been a one, a weird one to throw in there. But it was obviously David Corenswet playing both roles and doing well by it, I should say. He kind of looks a little bit deranged with the long hair, but I think that's the whole point. And it's a great revelation because we kind of hinted at it and wondered how Lex Luthor got such easy access to the Fortress of Solitude. But obviously now we know, because he's got Superman's DNA, that the fortress just opens up for him and allows him in, and away he goes.
I was a third right.
Yeah, you thought it would be at the end with the revelation.
I thought it would be at the end, and I thought we would see the skin turn white. But I was right that it's kind of obvious when you think about it. Claude Rain in the comments makes a really good point that there was kind of a Nuclear Man symbol on the Hammer of Baravia armor, and Nuclear Man was created from a hair of Superman. Mm-hmm. So it's a weird reference, but it's there. No, I think what it does is it just really gave, more than anything, it just gave Superman someone to hit, and break his thumb and pop his shoulder out of joint, doing the Mel Gibson thing from Lethal Weapon to get him into the black hole. I really liked that, and yeah, when he took his hair, I was like, "Is that Henry? Did they?" I mean, if that had happened, I think the internet would have really broken in half. Like, if it was Henry Cavill fighting David Corenswet, that would have just like Snyder Bros would not have known what to do with themselves.
They would have. Yeah, it would have just.
Oh no, they wouldn't. Wow. But
yeah.
Let me just say, I was thinking there was always that chance, because now he discovered the pocket universe and all that kind of thing, that maybe it was Ultraman from Earth 3. And maybe they would kind of go, but they didn't. Obviously, they went a more, I don't want to say simple way, but it makes more sense that he's a clone and all of that. But I was thinking for a second, he discovered the pocket universe. Who knows what, maybe he discovered Earth 3 and got Ultraman to come, but it wasn't quite that. But I still think it was still a great reveal.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things was the death of Ultraman, or was it the death of Ultraman? Because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, once again, Superman kills," but does he kill? Because going into a black hole doesn't necessarily mean death for a character like Superman or Ultraman who has Superman's powers. He could just be gone into another dimension or somewhere else. He's not necessarily killing him. Yes, sure, he doesn't know what going into the black hole will mean for the character, but I don't see it as a kill.
So, two things that could happen from this. One, he can go into the black hole and it takes him to Earth 3 where he becomes the Ultraman of that Earth. Or it changes him on a physical level, and this is how we get Bizarro. I'm really stuck on seeing David Corenswet with white skin. I don't know why. I just am. But no, it's just one of those things. It's the best of both worlds, because if you wanted him to kill him, you could say he died when he went into the black hole. If you don't want Superman to kill, you're just saying this is the best place to put him, and he's just as powerful as Superman. That doesn't mean he's gonna live or die. And it seemed to me that he was a little stronger than Superman. So there's something about the way his cells absorb yellow sunlight that make him more powerful, which means, as Steve said, he could have survived. It's one of those things where there's not a definite thing. There's no neck snap here.
No, exactly.
It didn't even occur to me that he was that he could have killed him. I didn't even think of that. When I saw him going to the black hole, I'm like, oh yeah, well, he's going to be back. It didn't even occur to me that there was a chance that he killed him. So that didn't even come to mind when I saw that. So.
Fair enough. I think similar in Superman 2, when he sends them into those depths of the fortress into the cloud and the mist. We don't know what happens to them, but we don't necessarily. It's not like I said, it's not.
They were arrested by the Arctic police.
We know that.
They were.
Leo footage of this.
All right. Some of the things that weren't included. What the hell happened to the Yeti we saw in the action figures?
You know what? My most disappointing thing that wasn't in it that I was hoping is
a battle suit.
Cat. No, actually, it's Cat Grant saying "I like Strange." I was really disappointed that line wasn't in the movie, because I actually we didn't see a whole lot of her. I loved this Cat Grant.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of her or Ron Troop.
Or Ron Troop didn't say a damn thing.
Yeah,
but
he didn't say anything, did he?
Because the thing about the Daily Planet staff just in general is you either like that they were there and were happy with it, or you thought that they were completely wasted. The Daily Planet staff did exactly what the Daily Planet's supposed to do. They were supporting characters in this movie there only when they were called to be there. And I love Steve Lombard wanting to talk to his cat when he thinks the world is about to end.
One of the funniest lines was, "Why don't I have a seat?"
That was funny.
But yeah, where was like the toy thing is weird, because we were all like, "Oh, the Yeti." I mean, the Yeti. What is the Yeti going to be? And you expect
why do his arms get pulled off?
And all that. But we did see the kaiju and we did see Baby Joey, and both of them played a role in this film. So I'm wondering if it was just like the toy company going, we can't sell kids on a dude in a 3-piece suit. We're going to have to put him into armor. I'm sorry. And we're not going to have a fortress thing without a giant Yeti that kids can fight with their toys. I honestly think that was all a sop to the toy makers. And
the ice gauntlet, where Superman has ice that attaches to his hands in some of the action figures, that didn't get used,
which is disappointing. However, go ahead.
I just think they need to come up with some stuff for the action figures. And maybe whether they did it on purpose to throw us off, or they just they're just like, well, you know what would be good with Superman if we can give him these, and the toy makers kind of come up with that, and the filmmakers go, yeah, that's fine, the figure will look good. Go ahead, we don't care.
There's another thing is maybe they were in an earlier draft of the script.
Maybe
that's possible.
It's possible that they got that because it takes years to get these things up and running. So it's entirely possible they were in an earlier draft of the script. And it's kind of like, in old novelizations where there are scenes in the book that aren't in the movie.
Yeah.
This could be just the modern version of that.
Yeah, we'll have to. Well, I mean, there are little snippets of Crypto doing things on social media, digging holes and falling off a ledge and still floating in the air when he's asleep and things like that, that we're seeing that they obviously made and did the special effects for, but didn't get put in the film. Whether or not they're snippets or they're things that are going to be shown behind the scenes, what have you, we don't know. But I think there'd be some interesting questions there for James Gunn if we ever get to interview him about some of these things that we never got to see or that were part of the merchandising that didn't get into the movie. We have to talk about end credits and cameos. We do see Millie Alcock appear as Supergirl, Kara. She breaks into a non-existent entrance of the Fortress of Solitude, obviously intoxicated and worse for wear, looking for her dog because, as Superman tells Lois, it's more of a foster situation in far as him having Krypto with him. She's obviously the owner of Krypto, and we will see that transpire into her own film coming out next year. And Superman tells number 4, or Gary, that Kara likes to hang out on worlds with a red sun or without a yellow sun because alcohol has no effect under a yellow sun. So this is an unruly Supergirl, which kind of explains why Krypto is the way he is.
Yeah, as somebody that had problems with Supergirl and Woman of Tomorrow, I wasn't exactly thrilled, but at the same time, it is what it is. This is it offers the character a chance for growth. I don't like that that's how they're doing it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are really happy about this. Like the things that I had the least reaction to seem to be like what Gen Z is all about in a weird way. At least on TikTok. I'm only gay. Like, guys, my TikTok feed is insane with Superman stuff. Like literally 4 out of 5 videos are Superman related. It is so weird.
But I haven't read Woman of Tomorrow. I will read it. But I've not heard great things from a lot of people, so I'm kind of like, I don't know. But now that they're basing, the movie off of this book, I do think she's probably going to come into her own. I haven't read the story, so I don't know how it ends. But however, I do think she will learn some lessons or something, because I don't think the next time we see her, she's still going to be this drunk, character. I really hope that they didn't do that. I think whatever happens to Woman of Tomorrow happens, but I think she'll learn some lessons, blah, 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 and hopefully come out better on the other end. I don't know. But I still love the cameo. I still love
it. Was a good cameo, and it delighted a lot of people seeing her show up, because I was, like, oh, we forgot about the fact that she's probably going to be in this. So there was a mid-credit scene with Superman and Krypto having an adorable little hug there, watching the Earth from the moon, which was really nice. And then the post-credit scene was with Mr. Terrific, when they're looking up at the fact that not everything lined up perfectly when the buildings were put together when the rift was closed. And that kind of annoys Mr. Terrific. Is like, dude, it's back together. It's good enough, kind of thing. Like, what do you want from me?
So I saw an interesting theory on that is James Gunn metatextually commenting on the fact that he's fixing the DC universe, and that it's not all going to be perfect, and that he's just doing the best he can. And Superman is the fans going, that doesn't line up, or why is Viola Davis still Amanda Waller, and why is Peacemaker in this universe, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just the whole...
Oh, that was funny too.
Yeah, seeing Peacemaker show up there, that was funny.
Oh, both times, like in the Amazon Prime preview, the theater lit up when the camera panned over to him. And it wasn't as full Monday morning at 8:30 because, not everyone is insane like me and the people that were there. But the two guys, there was a father and son sitting next to me. And the son was kind of older, and when Peacemaker showed up, they started laughing. So I'm like, oh, okay. So this is something that I don't have any idea, because I never watched the Peacemaker show.
No, same.
But apparently it is popular enough that people were happy to see John Cena in this film.
Yeah. I haven't watched Peacemaker either, but obviously I think we're all familiar with.
Yes.
character. And it was just funny how he goes, "Well, what do you think?" They pan over and it's him, and I just thought
Yeah.
that was very funny. As far
So,
as the end credits, I read an article a couple weeks ago where James Gunn talked about end credits and the kind of end credits he had to do for the Marvel movies, for Guardians, and how the way he liked to do it. Sometimes you needed to set up something for the next movie, but he liked to do something funny, and that's what he did with this in the end credits, and he did something funny. Now, does it mean, what he's going to do for the DCU? I don't know, but it was a funny scene. And I think, he wasn't going to introduce some character that we may or may not see later on. I figured it was just going to be some kind of a funny scene, which she's done before.
yep. So some of the other characters, the Justice Gang, they were there enough without shadowing Superman. Guy Gardner's role, Nathan Fillion just awesome as Guy Gardner. He is really good. Mr. Terrific was awesome. I think he became almost everyone's nearly favorite of the characters from the Justice Gang. Hawkgirl didn't do much, although she did have one of the kills, and that was killing off the president or prime minister or whatever he is of Baravia, where he thought, you're not going to kill me. You're like Superman. You have that moral compunction where you're not going to kill anyone. And she was like, see you, dude. And away you went. But yeah, I thought there was enough of them without overshadowing. Metamorpho was great. He was introduced as a really sympathetic character, and the fact that he becomes a hero at the end and has a moment to shine was really cool, because I thought they were just going to have him walk off with baby Joey and kind of be like this mystery figure that never gets seen again. But in fact, he comes back to help out. And Nathan Fillion's character, Guy Gardner, doesn't want him as part of the Justice Gang until he actually likes the name, and so he says, "Dude, you're in." I thought those characters were pretty good.
Yeah, I liked all of them. I really did. I really wanted to see more of Hawkgirl because she was kind of fun. Nathan Fillion is just charming, no matter what character he's playing.
Yeah.
I did see somebody suggest that since he is a Green Lantern and therefore a cop, that Cop Daddy song from The Rookie that went viral is something they want to see in the Green Lantern show. But Metamorpho, and every time I say it, I want to go Metamorpho, boom, boom. The thing about Metamorpho is I never thought we were going to see like 100% comic accurate Metamorpho, and yet outside of the shorts, we saw 100% like the head floating. I'm like, oh my god,
yeah.
this is out of the. And this is the thing about this movie. In the past, when people have approached Superman, they have either stretched themselves into pretzels to explain something, or just left it off the table. This movie did not care. Superman's like the Fortress Robots. Like, that's a silly name. But he says it like it's the most normal thing on the face of the planet. Metamorpho being what he is. Mr. Terrific being what he is. Green Lantern creating middle finger constructs to like everything about this was just so unapologetically comic book, and people responded well to it.
Yes.
And the takeaway from that is if you do it in an enjoyable way and you do it with confidence, people will go with you on that.
Agreed. Look, we've only got 5 minutes left of the hour, and we're not going to get to the fan favorite question this week. We'll let you continue to send in your answers for what was your favorite part of the new Superman movie to info@supermanhomepage.com if you want to be part of that. We've already got quite a few responses. So what was your favorite part of the new Superman movie? Send that to info@supermanhomepage.com, and we will get onto the fan favorite segment next week. Final thoughts, anything you wanted to touch on that we haven't touched on in this analysis of the new movie that is forefront in your mind, Mark?
I just want to say, the one thing we never really talked about Rachel Brosnahan. You kind of went into Nicholas Hoult. I just want to, she was terrific in this movie. She was Lois Lane in this movie. She was. I still think Tulloch is my favorite Lois Lane, but she was wonderful in this movie as Lois Lane. She was, she was the tough reporter, and she was also the girlfriend, and she was she was everything you expect Lois Lane to be, and I just thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, good. Glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for me from the film was that I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know I needed this film as much as I needed it, but when I was sitting there in the theater and you see like the DC Studios logo with Superman bursting out of the chains and going into the bullet, and you hear those first strains of the Superman theme, I literally started tearing up. And my wife's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm really fine." And it was just, with the world being what it is today, both in terms of like the overall world and things going on in my personal life, I needed something to give me hope. And I love that James Gunn said that hope gets you only so far. It's more about just being a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that this film has made people kind of reevaluate what is masculine, and maybe being a good guy is masculine and not being a jerk.
Yep.
So I just think this was the right film at the right time, done by the right people.
Yeah, we haven't really touched on the musical score, but hearing the John Williams theme, using the way it wasn't over the top. It was kind of done in different ways, different instruments. They didn't use the whole score the way we remembered it from the movies, but enough of it to be able to give us that feel of when Superman was doing something triumphant, that those, strings and those notes came into being. And, I love that. I thought that was really well done without being over the top. I do prefer the orchestral version, just because to me that's more kind of swelling and uplifting. But I like hearing it done with a guitar. I love hearing it done with different instruments. And I thought that was really cool. I love that being kind is the new punk rock, and how they lent into that. And, that's very James Gunn, using those songs towards the end and having all that kind of stuff happen. But yeah, I just love that theme. I also love that Superman went above and beyond to try to help and save people and animals. So people complained that 80% of this movie was Superman being beaten up. Now, you've got to remember, let's put this into context. They said at the beginning, he's been around for 3 years and hasn't lost a fight until this very point. Yep. Now, the only time that Superman gets beaten up is by his clone, who is Superman. So the same powers as Superman, but the clone has the advantage of having Lex Luthor pulling his strings, and Lex has studied Superman for 3 years, knows his every move, can anticipate exactly what he's going to do, and has his team of special dudes around him who will be able to, make everything happen for him. And so he has that upper hand. As soon as Superman removed Lex Luthor's control over Ultraman by having Krypto take away those monitoring things, Superman was able to defeat Ultraman. So it's Ultraman as the Hammer of Baravia and Ultraman as himself was the only times that Superman got beaten up. And the other time when he was down and out was when the kryptonite was in effect. But other than that, Superman's not getting beaten by anybody.
Best representation of kryptonite ever in live action, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very comic book accurate.
I just thought seeing his skin burn like a radiation burn when it was put right next to him, I'm like, oh, that's really... And how just haggard he looked, and they had the Smallville lines on his hands afterwards. I was just like... And a couple other guys were talking about this. He wasn't completely cured as soon as it was taken away. He had to rest. And I think that's how kryptonite should work.
Yeah, well said. All right, well, there's lots more we could talk about, and we will over the next coming weeks. I'm sure there'll be things that will pop up, and we will talk about many, many things in regards to this film. We want to hear your say as well, and, we'll be, doing further shows where we will be getting into some of your questions about it, some of the things you may have not understood. Neil Bailey, remember him? He's back at the Superman homepage. He'll have a review up on the website tomorrow. So look for Neil Bailey's review up on the website in about half an hour from now, if you're watching this live. My review, spoiler filled, will be up in the next couple of days. These guys will obviously have their say as well. So plenty of stuff to get through with the Superman homepage's coverage of the new film. We are in agreement. We love it. We're looking forward to analysing it further as the weeks and months go along. And we get to see more and more from this film, from behind the scenes. Keep an eye on supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel, whether it be about this movie, comic books, TV, everything. You can make sure supermanhomepage.com is your online destination. But thank you to everyone for tuning in to this hour of Superman Homepage Live. We appreciate you being with us here as we analyse the new Superman film. 2 hours in 1 hour. It's like pretty hard to do, but we've done our best to try to bring it to you as concisely as we could. Thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, Tina Murray, Rick Schutzow, and Jamie Klingensmith. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you to my co-hosts, Michael Bailey. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And Mark Lax. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Guys, we will be back next week, Monday, July 20th, for another edition of 21st. Another edition of Superman Homepage Live, July 21st, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure you check out Superman Homepage, as I said, for all the stuff happening around the world of Superman. I'm Steve Eunice. On behalf of myself, Michael Bailey, and Mark Lax, thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Good night. Look up.
Okay.